Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of Amati Auctions and we're going to have a look at their latest auction. Before I begin, I just want to say if you enjoy watching these videos, please consider subscribing as it really helps the channel, and any comments or anything like that would be much appreciated. So as always, we're going to do a really quick rough and ready run through of the latest auction here. As always, I just kind of go through it without editing and just see how it goes. It's just quite raw, and that's what it is. I'll try not to go over every item because that would take way too long, so I'll just go over a few which I think are interesting. A bit of information about the auction. So this is due to finish on the 25th of January 2023, which is this coming Wednesday. It is Monday as I'm recording, so there's a couple of days left to go. Buyer's premium is 22%, so that's the amount that you pay on top of the hammer price. This is a UK based auction, so if you're outside of the UK, then please check the terms and conditions, shipping, import, export fees, all of that lovely fun stuff. So before we kind of get on, just one quick thing to say that I actually saw this auction, or at least the viewing of this auction in person yesterday, so I was able to look at every item other than maybe some of the books and things like that, but I've looked at everything. And I also took some videos, some short videos of some of the lots. So if you're interested in seeing a few videos of some of the instruments, then check on the shorts part of my page of the playlist, the shorts playlist, and you'll be able to see some videos there. Anyway, I've kind of rambled on enough already, so let's just get into it and see what we have. So we have here a cello, School of William Forster, London, circa 1780. This is one that I took videos of. This is a nice looking instrument. As far as I remember, I think, we can see here in the condition report that it unfortunately has a soundpost crack on the back that is, however, repaired. It is a nice instrument, but obviously that soundpost crack in the back is going to affect the value. Don't forget that on Amati you can do this kind of funky spin round 360, which is quite useful. And yeah, just bear that in mind. Look at the condition report as always. This particular one, they're looking at 4 to 8,000 is the estimate, 4 to 50 at the moment. I'm sure it will go a little bit higher than that, but it may not go super high because of the soundpost crack in the back. And moving on, I think we'll skip this Mircourt cello at the moment. I had a quick look at this cello, School of Calsan, Mircourt circa 1900. This was nice enough, in pretty good condition from what I remember. A few cracks on the side and a little bit of kind of worm, but not too bad. Estimates 2 to 4, current bid 3.5. I'm not too surprised at that because this is actually in quite nice condition and it's a fairly good cello, so that may go up a little bit as the auction draws clearer. Another French cello there. I didn't really look too much at that one, but I'm sure it's good. Here's another nice cello, Cello School of John Betts, London, circa 1810. Starting bid is 12,000, 12 to 15 here. What I remember about this one is there was lots of closed cracks, so I think it's mostly ready to play, but it is fairly substantial, the damage which has affected the value, and I think some further kind of restoration is probably needed to tidy up some of those, some of that damage. Moving on, I did have a quick look at this cello ascribed to Romeo Antonazzi, circa 1900, or Antonazzi. It's got a certificate there. This was not a particularly exciting looking instrument, to be honest. Not to say that it's not any good, it just wasn't that exciting. As you can see, they've looked at some dendro stuff. Maybe it's pointing towards a possible French origin there, but make your own mind up in any case. But someone's bidding 10,000 on it, so it is what it is. I didn't look at this 3/4 size cello, so we'll move on from that. I remember seeing it though. I didn't look at this JTL Mircourt cello either. I think it was in fairly good condition. I also didn't look at this Hawks and Son cello. Once again, I think it's fairly decent. This was an extremely interesting cello. Cello, probably the Low Country, circa 1700, with a Grancino label, and I think the head on this is a bit different. Another one that I took a video of. Very interesting cello with a replaced head, I think they're saying here. few bits of repair and woodworm, but an interesting one here. 2 to 4,000, current bid 2,750. I suspect that this is going to go up a lot higher than we're seeing now. That would be my thoughts. Bows, I didn't look at too many of the bows, so we'll just kind of go through these, and if there's anything interesting I'll talk about it, otherwise we'll just skip on. So there's a silver mounted cello bow by Emile Huchard, kind of more contemporary gold mounted bow there, Malcolm Taylor, some classic Hill & Sons cello bows there, nickel mounted cello bow, Nürnberger Viola bow. This was an interesting bow that I did look at actually. Gold mounted violin bow by James Tubbs, London. Current bid 4,046. This was in really nice condition. I think I took a short video of this one as well. That's a nice bow. This was the top lots in terms of the bows. This was the silver mounted bow by Eugene Sartre. I believe that the stamp on this is slightly unusual. I think it's a correct stamp, but like a rarer stamp apparently. Current bid 15,000, 15 to 25 is the estimate. It was also in pretty nice condition from what I recall. Another Hill bow there, German bow. Silver mounted Tubbs bow, I didn't look at that so much. Gustav Prager, it's good. Nickel mounted violin bow. This is another bow I looked at actually, a silver mounted violin bow by John Dodd, London. That was a nice bow, starting bid 3,000. That was in pretty good condition. I think there's a bit of a repair on the frog. You can see it's kind of cracked to the bottom, but in general, not bad really. It's quite a nice looking bow. It was pretty good. More Hill bows here. Lamy bow, more German bow. Kind of unstamped. Clifford Bibby. F. Huchard pair, more Bibby there. Germany, nickel mounted JTL French bows, more kind of French bows. German bow, standard bow branded Dodd. Ernst Martin Leipzig, silver mounted violin bow. Lots of these bows are pretty good. Morizon, W. Ernst, but Colin Mazar there. But time. Being time, we just got to crack on. This is another bow I looked at actually, a silver mounted violin bow, workshop of Jean-Baptiste Villon, Paris, circa 1850. Current bid 3,000. Another bow in pretty good condition. You can see a bit of wear at the top of the stick, a bit of damage, but overall not too bad. It's a fairly nice looking bow. 3,000 the current bid and 3 to 5 the estimate. No, more Hill bows here. A lot of Hill bows around. Georges Bargenet, that's a fairly nice looking bow. A nickel mounted violin bow by Simon Frère there, 1860. It's another fairly decent bow. Nickel mounted. Another silver mounted bows, nickel mounted. Lots of French bows and German bows in this auction. Another Mircore bow there. In general, the bow selection seemed pretty decent. Anyway, we're past the bows now. Another violin I looked at, violin possibly Thomas Kennedy, London 1820. Current bid 1,000. This was a fairly nice violin. I mean, it's nothing showy, but fairly interesting. There's a bit of repair to do on that, but yeah, in general, that was, I think, an interesting enough violin. I think there's a short video of that somewhere. I didn't look at this Mircore violin. Oh no, I did look at that Mircore violin, and it was not very nice. This violin ascribed to W.F. Channon. I don't think that it has anything to do with Channon at all, in my opinion. A violin by Paolo Antonio Testore, Milan, circa 1730. This violin was really beautiful, and I did definitely do a short video of this. Really nice. The pictures really don't do it justice here. It's a really beautiful varnish, really nice scroll, nice instrument. It's obviously had some previous repairs, but nothing too crazy. The dendro kind of ties up nicely. Just a really nice violin, this. Looking at the body length 353, it's a nice kind of length. Yeah, probably needs a little bit of TLC, but in general, a nice looking instrument. This violin by William Forster II, Old Forster, London, circa 1780. Yeah, it was nice enough. I think we might have seen this before in another auction. It seems familiar. In any case, it's nice enough violin, maybe a bit kind of on the high side, but in any case. Violin, possibly Klotzkuhl, Mittenwald, circa 1790. This is a nice instrument. This is pretty good. There's some bits which some funny things going on with this. The estimate seems really excessive on this. 4.5 to 5 with a starting bid of 4.5 seems too much to me personally. A couple of interesting English violins here. This one from 1780. This one is nice enough. There's a nice one a bit later on, I think, but that was curious enough. This was one of my favourite violins actually in this auction. A violin probably by Etienne Laprevotte, Paris 1845. This is great, really nice violin. I think it needs a little bit of work here and there, but really great, very nice. It seems that this kind of decoration on the scroll might be a later edition, but anyway, regardless of that, it's actually a really nice looking violin there. Estimate 600 to 1,000, current bid 700, so we'll see. Be interesting to see how that turns out. I didn't have a look at this Wolf Brothers one's pretty standard, same with this Hawks and Son. This violin, actually a violin by Joseph Wade, Leeds 1887. That's a really well made English violin. 1 to 2,000 is the estimate. I mean, I think that would be quite a nice violin for a player, maybe a student or something like that. It's a well-made instrument for sure, so nice enough. I think I did a short video on that. Another JTL violin here. I just kind of skipped through those, to be honest. Violin circa 1800. This violin I really like. This is one of my favourite violins, I think, in the auction. Just the general kind of workmanship, the feel of it. Obviously, it's had a lot of kind of repairs and needs some more repairs near the button, but I think this is a nice instrument. Length of back 359. It's within acceptable territories, and it's the price isn't too crazy, so yeah, I think that's an interesting violin. That one maybe good for a player. This Moritz violin, I didn't really look at that. I mean, I looked at every single item, but some of them were really not worth looking at properly. Here's a violin by Gaetano Venaccia, Naples, circa 1820, which is a really nice instrument. This one's a curious one because this instrument, as they say in the condition report, has been over varnished a bit and it looks a bit dodgy in these pictures, but in real life this is a really beautiful instrument. I mean, it really is nice. You can see that it's been over varnished a bit, but it is really quite nice. Has a Hills log number as well. Estimates 4 to 8, current bid 4,250. I think that will go for a lot higher, I would think. This was a curious one. Violin, Italy, 20th century, 5 to 1,000 the estimate, current bid 550. I mean, this instrument is in really good condition, but really quite boring. Absolutely nothing interesting about this instrument whatsoever, but maybe it's a good player. Didn't look at this Beers violin, violin 19th century. I don't think I looked at this too much. I don't think I was too excited by it from what I recall. I quite like some of the turns on the scroll, but nothing too exciting there. Miracle violin 1900, I didn't look at that either. This was a nice violin, a violin circa 1780, estimates 1 to 2, got current bids of 1,000. Yeah, this has had a lot of repairs and some funny things going on with the varnish, but once again in person it's actually quite a nice colour. A lot of repairs going on here, but there was something about that violin which I think was fairly interesting. Here's another one of the London violins. This one is fairly kind of nice, nothing super outrageous, but interesting enough. 1 to 2,000 the estimate there, starting with 1,000. J. Thompson label. They've got a violin 20th century with a Paul Bailey label. I don't remember really looking at this one all too much. Violin by Axel A. Lington, Stockholm 1930. This was an interesting violin. This is a well-made violin. I wouldn't say it was kind of the nicest looking violin, quite heavy chamfers and just a little bit odd, but it is a well-made instrument. They're saying 600 to 1,000 here. 650 is the current bid, but an interesting violin. That another JTL that I didn't really look at. German violin 1910. I didn't really look at that either. This violin I looked at briefly. This was not really a great violin. This particular one, a bit kind of amateurish. Violin circa 1900. I didn't really look at that one either. This one also quite an amateurish violin. Same, this is low level violin. This is a curious one. A violin by Marko Debrecevich, Cairo 1923. Obviously a high estimate on this, 10 to 15, 10 starting bid. I mean, it was interesting. It has that kind of, I guess, what you'd expect, almost Italian type varnish of that time. I believe that he was a student of Palastri, and you know, some of the violins of his have gone for fairly high money. I didn't see anything super exciting in it myself. I didn't play it, so I don't know how it sounds, but for me there wasn't anything too exciting about that instrument, I must be honest. A violin by Harry Dobbs, Sutton Coldfield. This is an interesting instrument. Really nice back on that. The varnish is kind of quite thin and yellowish, but it has this really beautiful fine craquelure on it. If you kind of zoom in a bit, really fine and beautiful, hard to see without being really up close, so I quite like that. Estimate 800 to 1200, starting bid 800. I think that's way too high personally, but an interesting violin. Violin 20th century. I don't think that did I look at that? I can't quite recall. Yeah, I don't think I looked at that too much. That was not too exciting. Violin Mirecourt circa 1870. I did look at this violin actually. I tried to look at a few French violins. I don't want to ignore all of them. This was actually nice enough. I quite like this. Nice colour of the varnish, in pretty good condition overall. 800 to 1200 the estimate, 800 bid. I think it'd be a nice enough violin for someone. 361, tiny bit long, but not too bad. Violin by Nicolas Emile Sherpatel, Paris, circa 1870. This violin I looked at briefly, but it's got the most horrific sound post crack in the back. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I looked at it and I just thought, oh dear Lord, like this is horrible. So I put it back down again. Unfortunate, otherwise it would have been a nice violin. Violin Germany circa 1900. I don't really look at that. This violin I looked at, I did a short video of it. A violin by Guido Alberini, Corona 2001, with a certificate of the maker. Estimate 1500 to 2.5, 2000 the current bid. Once again, similar to the 20th century Italian violin, just not very exciting really. In great condition, you know, but other than that, not really doing anything for me. Violin 20th century, trying to remember. Yeah, so this violin here I looked at. Once again, the pictures don't do this justice. This is actually a really well made violin, really kind of beautiful back to this violin, and the varnish is actually really tasteful in real life. It's quite a nice violin. What it actually is, I have absolutely no idea, but it's actually quite nice. So estimate 5 to 1,000. I expect that will probably go to something near 1,000, I would think. Definitely a nice violin. A few of these violins here by Clifford Bibby, not so interesting to me personally, so I kind of skipped through them. I think the same with this kind of 20th century one. Another one of the Bibbies there that I moved past. I think I had a quick look at this violin, faintly labelled. I thought it was interesting enough actually. Nothing crazy. It's had some repairs, but had some kind of rustic charm to it, and I do quite like some of the rustic ones. Didn't look at this Lowendahl one. Don't think I looked at this French violin so much either. These were kind of a bit uninspiring. Don't think I looked at this violin so much either. And a violin possibly by Matthew Hardy, Edinburgh circa 1790. This is a nice violin. I just think the estimate is very high for what it is. Once again, I think it looks a bit nicer in person, but it's got a bit of worm at the back. 6 to 8. I'm not sure about that personally. Violin Mittenwald circa 1780. Yeah, I don't really recall seeing this one, to be honest, but looks kind of okay. Violin 19th century, another one that I don't really recall looking at, doesn't look too exciting. Violin Mirkor circa 1860, this was pretty junky from what I recall. 3/4 size violin, I didn't really look at that. Another 20th century one, violin ascribed to the workshop of Emile Boulanger. I didn't really look at this one, but this is really not my kind of thing either. Another 20th century violin there. 19th century, I think it's another one that I didn't really look at, to be honest. Violin circa 1900, I think another one that wasn't so interesting. There's quite a few that were not that exciting. Another Hawks and Sons I didn't look at. Germany 1900, France 20th century. A lot of these were not very good. This one as well, this English one. Another JTL, not so good. Germany 1910, these were not very nice instruments here. Violin circa 1820, I don't remember this one, but I think it was not particularly nice either. Violin by Charles Adolphe Mocatel, Paris 1851, with the Rampal certificate. So I looked at this one for sure and took a short video. This was one of the most uninspiring violins in the whole auction, I have to say. It actually looks better on the pictures here. It looks really kind of flat and horrible in real life, I have to say. Looks definitely better on here. Obviously this is a fairly regarded maker, and I'm sure this is probably quite a nice sounding instrument and it's in a pretty good condition, but otherwise not my kind of thing personally. But I did take a small video of it. Violin 20th century, I think it's another one that I didn't look at. It seems fairly popular. Oh, I do remember this actually. Yeah, I wasn't really too taken by that, I'll be honest. Violin, probably Prague, 18th century, 1500 to 2.5. I quite like this, just it's a little bit unusual, but this is probably an unpopular kind of shaped violin. The varnish was quite vibrant, but it's had a lot of repairs, a bit of worm, so not ideal. Violin, late 19th century, didn't really look at that one. Violin, 20th century, France, no. I very briefly looked at this August Reicher's violin. Actually really well made violin, to be honest. A lot nicer in person than from the pictures. Yeah, nice enough violin. Yep. Violin, late 19th century. I don't really recall this one too much. No, don't think that's very nice. Violin, France, 20th century. No. Germany 1910, no, not that one. Another French violin. I just tend to ignore those ones, to be honest. Violin 19th century, don't recall that one either. Violin School of Grandjean, don't really recall this one either, but it's got 1800 bid. I just don't think that was too nice. Violin by Colin Mazar, I didn't even see that at all, I don't think. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I don't really look at, being honest. I just find a lot of those French violins of that period quite boring. Violin, probably by Joseph Ambrosius Verck, Legioni, 1946. I did look at this just because of the attribution, but it was not a very exciting violin. 2 to 4 the estimate. I wouldn't really pay that much for it personally. Violin Mittenwald, circa 1800. I looked at this briefly. I think it's okay. Violin by Jenny Bailey. I briefly looked at this. Once again, I didn't think it was too exciting. Violin ascribed to Nicholas Viome, Miracle. Yeah, this was not super inspiring either, but it was okay. It was better than a lot of the other kind of French violins in the auction. 5 to 10 the estimate. 5,000 to start. It's okay. Violin probably France, 20th century, so I kind of ignored that one. Violin Germany, circa 18 at 10. Let's have a look at this one. I think I did have a look at this one. It's okay. I think it's a fairly low level German instrument, but decent enough. Another Beer and Sons violin I ignored. Another German violin I ignored. Another French violin that I didn't look at. Another violin by Harry Dobbs that I didn't really look at. Violin South Germany, early 19th century, starting bid 800. I quite like this. I know it's a bit of a weird shape, but I thought it was fairly interesting, so I didn't mind this violin. Unfortunate kind of bass bar cracks and some things, weird things going on there, but I kind of liked it. It was a bit quirky. Another JTL, I ignored Dresden. I didn't really look at that one. Another JTL I skipped past. Violin South Germany, early 19th century. Another one, I guess not too dissimilar than the other one. Maybe a bit of a nicer turn on the scroll there, but I think the overall varnish and aesthetics not as nice. Violin circa 1800. This was a really odd violin. I didn't really quite understand what was going on with this one. I'll be honest. I thought this was quite nasty. 800 to 1200. The scroll is kind of nice enough from the front, but otherwise not very good. Now we're getting on to the interesting violins here. This violin, Naples, 19th century. This is a beautiful violin with a hill number there. Really, really nice violin. I think a lot of people have been talking about this violin online. Really, really beautiful back. This is really nice in person. Needs a bit of work here. 2 to 4,000 the estimate. Current bid 3,250. I think this is going to go for like 6 to 8,000. I think this is really going to hit a high price. Really beautiful back. You can see some of the remnants of some of the varnish. Really, really nice workmanship. Scroll's like fairly simple but nice enough. Needs a bit of TLC really. Let's see what else we got here. That's the Hill stamp there, so you could contact them about that. Obviously it's had a lot of repairs. Fairly nasty kind of sound post crack, and the table is loose, but yeah, otherwise like actually a really, really nice violin this, and I think it will sell for a fair amount, I would think. A Viola, early 19th century. This was a curious one because this viola looked like someone was deliberately trying to make some kind of testore viola with this really weird kind of scroll. It's got a testore label. Yeah, a bit of a strange one. Lots of weird repairs and stuff. Yeah, a bit odd. Bit of an odd viola, that one. Viola by Carl Muller. I don't really recall looking at that one too much. Viola England circa 1800. Yeah, this is a nice viola. Needs a bit of work. Fairly simple, nothing super outrageous there, but I think it was a nice enough viola, I'd say. I think it was okay. Current bid 1500 to 2000 there, the estimate. Viola probably France, 1920. I didn't really look at this so much, I'll be honest. Viola labelled R. Roberts, 1982. This is an interesting viola, absolutely huge in terms of its the lower bout or not, even the upper bout width, in like amazing condition, really like ready to go. So be curious to hear what it sounds like. 500 to 1,000. I mean, yeah, it was quite well made as well. Viola 20th century. I didn't really look at this one so much. So, but looks okay. Viola JTL. I didn't really look at that. It's just not so much my interest. Books. I didn't really look at any of these books, to be honest. It looks all fairly standard kind of stuff. classic Hill bow makers, etc. Guadagnini, Stradivari, all that stuff. German violin makers, all standard things. There are some nice books there for sure. And let's see, Jacob Steiner, Viola Brothers, all kind of good stuff. This is an interesting one. Musical instruments in the Ashmolean Museum complete collection. I bet this is probably worth a fair amount of money, so it'd be interesting to see how much that goes. Estimate 10 to 20. This has surely got to be £250 plus, I would have thought. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. Sotheby's book, that'd be interesting to get. Monograph collection, Dictionary of Violin and Bow Makers, Cooper collection, bows and all that stuff. More Cooper collection, some other stuff. Bow case, I didn't see that there. Not sure if that was on display. There's a violin, Alfred Moritz. I don't recall seeing that, but maybe I was not paying attention. And I think that is, I think that's it really. I think that's the end of the catalogue. So we've steamed through that. Let's just make sure that that was indeed the last item. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, a really interesting sale, and it was really useful for me to look at the auction before doing this video, and to also take and upload some of the short videos. So it was really interesting. But yeah, a good solid sale. Some really interesting items, some stuff not so good. But overall, yeah, it was an interesting sale. I think there's some good opportunities there for people or students or dealers, etc, etc. There's definitely some stuff going on there. So as always, I'll put a link in the description. Check it out for yourself, see how it goes. You've got 1 day, 18 hours or so, probably one day and 10 hours or something by the time this is uploaded. But yeah, check out the auction yourself and see what you think. Yeah, thanks a lot, and I'll catch you next time. Ciao. Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.